back on the 7th of October, Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel's territory, breaching its land, water, air, firing a barrage of rockets, indulging in ground assault and taking hostages. Following this, Israel retaliated, and the ongoing war has now cost around 3,000 lives on both sides. However, the conflict between Israel and Palestine is not new. It is a long-standing geopolitical issue that dates back over a century. In this telecast, we go through the geopolitics of this war, how the world leaders have reacted to Hamas attack, and how India can navigate the Middle East amidst this chaos. Joining us on the show to talk more about this is Ambassador Bhaspati Mukherjee, former diplomat, Major General Sudhakarji, VSM veteran, geopolitical and strategic expert, joins us on the broadcast as well. Sumit Peer, senior political commentator, joins us on the show as well. And last but not the least, Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian, also with us on the program. Thank you everyone for being a part of this. Ambassador Mukherjee, I'll begin with you, ma'am. We've been down this conversation before. We are not going to get into the history or the histrionics of what has been happening between Palestine and Israel. But the fact of the matter is, do you see India playing perhaps a more vital role in the next few days, considering the power that we have been wielding when it comes to dealing with the Americans and, you know, our clout now with the Gulf countries? Do you think this is perhaps some sort of, for the lack of a better word, an opportunity for India to show maturity and even disseminate it?
Well, first of all, Vineet, the geopolitics of the region are so complex that before we get into any discussion on this matter, we would first have to decide what our core national interests are at this moment. So we need to do everything to salvage the India, Middle East, Europe economic deal which was signed on 10th of September. We need to show solidarity with Israel in their moment of suffering and grief. At the same time, we need to try and give sane advice to all the parties concerned to come to the negotiating table and find a way out of this conflict, because as Israel puts its boots on the ground and goes into Gaza, there will be horrific civilian casualties also in Gaza, which will find their way back into social media, be taken up by left liberal establishments who have shown great sympathy for Gaza. Even when we saw Israeli children being decapitated, even then they were not sympathetic to Israel, they were sympathetic to Gaza. So I'm saying that since opinion is so deeply polarized, when you go into a peace negotiation as a negotiator, and I agree with you that we have solid credentials with both sides, but we need to be sure that when we go in and we put our prestige on the table, we don't come out damaged. So we should only go in when we know that both sides are willing to listen to sane advice. Until that happens, until tempers cool down, until the Israelis feel that some measure of retribution has been given to the leaders of Hamas who perpetrated Israel's 9/11, we really cannot expect much at this particular moment. In my opinion, there is going to be horrific bloodletting for the next few days. Only after that will there be a call for peace, and at that particular point of time, keeping our options open, remembering also, we must not forget that we have vital stakes on both sides. We could perhaps, if we are invited, join an international peace conference or a peace deal where we would be accepted as a negotiator on both sides, by the Palestinians and by the Israelis, naturally, by both sides.
Eli Nakht, Deputy Mayor of Ashdod from Israel, is also joining us at this point in time. Eli Nakht, if you're there with us?
Yes, I'm here with you.
Thank you so much. It's just been a few hours. The Hamas was reported to have fired rockets in Ashdod as well. What's the current situation that prevails at this point in time? The Americans have reached your shores to help. Germany has said that they will support you in this time of crisis as well. They've also dedicated a few drones which will come handy to your cause. Please apprise us of the situation that stands at this point in time, and what more foreign help and aid are you expecting at this point in time?
First of all, I expect the international community to be with us at this hard moment. We all saw the massacre that committed those terrorists, killing brutally children, civilians, women, elders, everybody who is on their way. They made all this in purpose, preparing themselves for this massacre. This is not something that happened by itself. And they are still continuing their aggression on the state of Israel that is only will just to live peacefully, side alongside with the other nations. Unfortunately, they will not calm down until they will try to kill all the Jews in Israel and around the world. This is their goal, this is their aim, this is what they are telling all the time. They are not hiding their real purposes. We understand this a modern Nazi regime, and they claim as themselves like this. Right now, we are collecting a lot of aid to our soldiers, trying to help our soldiers on the borders, because they, of course, been recruited in the last moment. No one expected a military operation to be started. That's why they caught us unguarded, unfortunately. And we are trying to do our best here in Ashdod as a deputy mayor and our municipality. And in the same way, we have all the municipalities and all the citizens of the state of Israel trying to support our soldiers and our civil society. Of course, we are expect also from the Indian community and the Indian government, as the Europe, as the United States of America, to be part of our peace coalition, to be part of a coalition against the terrorist Hamas aggression on the state of Israel, just because we are Jewish. And I know that Modi and our prime ministers are very good friends. We have a very good relationship. And I really hope that this kind of relationship between the nations and between the leaders will be impacted and will be translated into deeds and into actual actions and declaration from the Indian government in a very difficult moment, probably the most difficult moment that the state of Israel ever had.
Absolutely.
In the history of the state of Israel. This is our 9/11.
Absolutely. This is your 9/11, and India is, as always, even without declaration or statement, is a long-term ally of Israel, and we will always be, not only because of our similarities, but because of the way we have been able or have dealt with the concept of terrorism. Joyita Basu with me in the studio as well. Joyita, Joe Biden has put out a very terse and strong statement against Iran as well. Not much being discussed about Turkey at this point in time, because, you know, Iran could be responsible for giving all the money to Hamas, but what they do with that money is perhaps a lot to do with Turkey, because they are the ones who've been slipping in weapons to them.
And when you
First of all, what?
One second. Ellie, this is a question for Joyita. I'll come back to you, Joyita.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, you see, it is well known that Turkey and Qatar, these are some of the main backers of the Hamas. And if you are looking at it, I was just, seeing on Twitter one interview of a Hamas activist who is talking about in terms of how they kind of received words of encouragement and help from Iran, of course, Turkey. And he was talking about, that they kind of knew that this attack is going to take place. And when you are talking about Turkey specifically, we are talking about Erdogan. It is known, in fact, I was part of a seminar where there was a Turkish ex-intelligence officer, and guess what he said about Erdogan? That he had set up a corridor giving free passage to ISIS. So, and there, the Turkish police, Turkish intelligence, no one could intervene. The ISIS had a free passage totally, and that was what Turkey was backing. Rather, let me put it this way, Erdogan was backing. And you see, Erdogan has radicalized a section of the Turkish population, which is otherwise very secular. He is one of the main funders of terrorism and worldwide terrorism, just like, and now he has more money than Pakistan. He apparently is even involved in trying to radicalize elements even in India and Kashmir. So yes, when we are looking at Turkey, looking at that particular regime in Ankara, I think they are a major problem.
Sumit Peer, the revelations coming out from Israel and Gaza at this point in time are horrific. This is no longer about land. It is not a territorial dispute. Once again, Sumit, as you and I have discussed a multitude of times in the past, this is about ideology. Because if it wasn't about ideology, then you wouldn't have the likes of Iran, Syria and Turkey supporting a cult or an organization like Hamas, which of course is very happy to say learns from the ISIS, learns from the ISI. But in this hour of need, Israel has been given support from a number of its allies. But what is the solution here, Sumit? There's going to be, of course, a clean sweep of Hamas, as Mr. Netanyahu has promised. But there's going to be another Hamas-like institution or organization which is going to spring up and create similar results in the future.
Vinny, thank you very much for having me on your show. First of all, I would like to say to my brother L, who's on the broadcast, we as Indians and I as Indians stand 101% with Israel. Our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has given very direct statement. India stands with Israel and we oppose the terror of Hamas. Israel is fighting Hamas. Israel is not fighting Palestine. Israel is not fighting Muslims. This distinction has to be very clear. Hamas is a terrorist organization. When you behead children, when you burn the children alive, when you use ISIS flags, when you rape women, sorry Vineet, I have to say this, I have seen videos, here and there, wherein women were bleeding, wherein the vaginas were bleeding more than bullet holes. That is the reality of Hamas. And these captured Hamas terrorists were saying, we were told to rape women, behead everybody, and even rape children, burn them alive. This is the terror.
Well, Sumit, there are, kind of quasi-verified reports coming in that little children have been decapitated by the Hamas that were taken as refugees.
Vineet, sir, today
so this is no longer a conjecture.
Correct.
It's not a surmise. It is not a speculation. It's confirmed.
Correct. Today, the PMO of Israel and Mr. Joe Biden has himself confirmed it. The President of America and the Israeli PMO has officially confirmed this decapitation of children and burning the children alive in the cages. This is what we have seen. There was an incident in South Israel where you cut a pregnant woman's womb, you took out the child, cut the umbilical cord, let the mother and child die. This is barbarianism. This barbarianism of 1400-year-old, what used to happen, has been happening in Israel. They have done that in Israel. And Vineet, there is no solution unless and until you take out Hamas in and out. Then second Hezbollah, then you have to handle Iran and Qatar. If you don't go after all the four, this will come. And Vineet, let me tell you, there was one terrorist who killed around 250 young, adults who were partying in a music festival near the Gaza desert. Now, one of these persons who killed these 250 kids, I will call them, they were 18 to 21, 23. He was trained and he studied in a Karachi madrasa. I have tweeted his photo with his allegiance. Which madrasa did he study in Karachi? Pakistan's SSG is involved. Sadat from Turkey is involved. Now, even if you look at the rocket shells which were found, Vinny, do you know where the rocket shells of Hamas came from? Lianglong shell factory in Shandong, China. Lianglong shell factory in Shandong, China, that is where the rocket shells came from. So we have China, we have Pakistan, we have Iran, we have Qatar, and we have Lebanon. These are the people who have got together and done it. And let me tell you, sir, we have seen that horrific video on the internet where they were carrying a naked girl and they were saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. The rocket launchers which they are carrying beneath, they are made in Korea. How did Korean weaponry reach Hamas terrorists? How did Chinese steel tubes reach Hamas terrorists? How did this Korean, anti-aircraft missiles reach? What were these jihadis doing in Pakistan? Why did Asim Munir visit Pakistan? Why is Anwarul Haq going to China? And what was the top recruiter of Lashkar-e-Toiba doing in Lebanon, meeting Ismail Haniya and Hassan Nasrullah? What was he doing meeting Hassan Nasrullah? These are the questions which the world should know. I'm giving you hardcore facts substantiated with evidence. They all got together. They wanted to eliminate the Jewish state. The charter of Hamas clearly says Jews have to be killed or burned alive wherever you find them. This is the charter of Hamas. I'm not casting aspersions. With this kind of brutality, this is the extreme form of Islamic terror. If you let Islamic terror grow, it will not become a terror. One day they will come to decimate you. One day they will come to wipe you off. One day they will come to even kill your women and children. That is what has happened here. Now, Vineet, these 3-year-old kids, when these Israeli Hamas jihadis were passing by the route, Hamas ke terrorists, they were calling them Suraya. Suraya is a sex slave. They see a 3-year-old killed as a sex slave. This has happened there. So, Vineet, when these kind of atrocities have happened, you have to eliminate the excess of evil. The Israeli Prime Minister is completely right, and I support him that we will change the geography of Middle East. You have to change the geography of Middle East, whatever it comes, because this time you got saved. Next time you might not be saved. That day, if Arabs would put their weapons, what will happen? The war will stop. But if Jews put down their weapons today, there will be no Israel. They will wipe out Israel from the planet Earth. That is what their intention is. We want to wipe out Israel. And let me talk of Iran. Debt to America, Iranian parliament. Debt to Jewish state, Iranian parliament. What was Ismail Haniyeh doing meeting Khomeini? Are they brothers? Are they buddies? Why does Ismail Haniyeh need to meet Khomeini? Isn't Iranian Republican Guard involved? Yes, they are involved. They are involved. Okay. And let me tell you, it's our army and our prime minister. They are not there. Our neighbors are equally brutal, Vinny. Equally brutal. This is an eye-opener for everybody.
Right. Okay. General Sudhakarji, your perspective on this, the chief of Hamas lives very comfortably in Qatar. He roams around in air-conditioned vehicles. He has a lavish lifestyle. In fact, when the Panama Papers were leaked, his son was one of those people who had billions of dollars stashed away in foreign accounts. But, he's taking all this money from countries like Qatar, Turkey and Iran, pumping into the Gaza Strip and West Bank and, basically making others do the job that he wants them to do. This has obviously become a network of sorts, a nexus of sorts, which the Western world is also aware of. You have the Americans supporting the Iranians. You have the Americans allowing, the FIFA World Cup to happen in Qatar. So there is complicity on behalf of a lot of people who are claiming to be allies of Israel as well. What kind of a world order change can we anticipate if this problem is supposed to be concluded and solved and resolved once and for all?
Vinit, excellent question, and I must thank you for putting a geopolitical question to me. I only hope I do come up to your expectations in responding. First and foremost thing, your question is loaded with a short-term, a mid-term, and a long-term perspective response to the current situation, the crisis. When I say this, I say with a lot of conviction that whatever is happening because of multiple double standards at multiple layers, at multiple levels. And like the example you gave about FIFA in Qatar and the hawalas going around between nations and countries, I would say to a large an extent, perhaps there is a misinterpretation of the signatures of the geopolitical fault lines, because of which USA, whether wrong or right, they took a decision in a hasty manner to withdraw from Afghanistan, which shouldn't have happened, because my reckoning, my research has always given me one finding, that 2017 strafing of ISIS, which they claimed that they had broken the backbone of the ISIS, was actually not correct. The backbone, as far as their perception was concerned, may have been broken, but ISIS came into re-emergence in different shape and size and different contours in different parts of the world. Some of them came to Northwest Africa, some of them towards this side, and ISIS Khorasan was created so as to look after Khorasan, including the subcontinent of India. So that is the second point I wanted to highlight. The third point is the elephant in the room. I personally feel, I may be wrong, to a great an extent, behind all this is the facade of China sitting quietly and enjoying everything. I think there is a great game going on. I heard Ambassador Ma'am articulating in a perfect manner day before yesterday in one of the panel discussions. It is China which is trying to keep the conflict zones far away from Indo-Pacific so that it doesn't have to face the conflict, because China is not itself ready today. It's the great design behind the design. And China, be it the modernization, be it its conscript system of recruitment, be it the submarine which is sunk, the nuclear submarine in the East China Sea, by mistake although, and be its preparation to actually reunify Taiwan. No way in next 2 to 3 years' time, it is simply not possible because of its internal turbulence. So having said that, what am I trying to say is, China always and every time, historically and traditionally, practices 36 stratagem. The 36 stratagem is to take the conflict zone far away, It triggered Manipur. Yes, we all know that Manipur 8 to 9 years back, before 3rd of May 2023, was relatively calm and quiet. All of a sudden, the same people, Cookies and Mai Tai, they picked up guns and
Yeah,
started.
you're right about that, sir. And the point, Ambassador Mukherjee, is also to be noted is that Russia and China are perhaps on one side of this lobby, and the United States and the Western allies, perhaps even NATO to some extent, are on the other.
For
Ambassador
Russia,
Mukherjee.
for Russia, Vineet, the greatest relief would be that the explosive focus of the West towards the Russia-Ukraine conflict has got diverted, and that there has been a frank statement earlier today from the American side that they have come to what they call the end of the twisted rope as far as continuing aid to Ukraine is concerned. In other words, for the United States, like for Europe, Israel is a very important strategic ally, and if there is a question of choosing between armaments for Israel and armaments for Ukraine, you know very well that the first priority would be Israel and has always been Israel. As far as China is concerned, its stakes are slightly different. China understood that the economic corridor, India, Europe, Middle East, was a direct threat to BRI. China understood that if there was a Middle East rapprochement, it would bring back the United States back in its earlier position as the guaranteeing power for peace in the Middle East, which did not suit China at all. And moreover, it would undermine the anti-Western alliance built up painstakingly by China along with Turkey and Qatar and Iran. So therefore, China's stakes are more like an emerging superpower, while Russia's stakes are somehow to get the attention diverted so that the Ukraine conflict gets settled into where it is in their position on the battlefield, which would enable eventually a peace agreement by which Ukraine would give up some of its territory to the Russian Federation. What we see here actually, in my perspective, is that if there is a deepening conflict with boots on the ground, because the Israelis apparently are preparing for a ground offensive so that they can take out Hamas leaders. At that point of time, if there are very heavy casualties on the Palestinian side, I fear that it would impact and inflame Arab opinion and also Muslim opinion, and it would polarize international opinion on this issue. That is why it is better to hope that once passions die down, which is difficult when every day we hear of new atrocities perpetrated by Hamas on the Israelis, that we are able to find a situation by which some semblance of normalcy can come back. Both sides exchange hostages, prisoners, and we allow in food, medicine, and fuel to the Gaza Strip, because at the end of the day, you cannot penalize 2.5 million civilians in order to win a war. It's against the rules of war on both sides, Vineet.
All right. Joyita, there is obviously a palpable dichotomy when it comes to the cause that Israel and Hamas are fighting over. The Western world continues to support the OIC. A number of these countries that are affluent today do find patronage from the Western world as well, and these same Western countries are also, of course, looking to support Israel and not criticizing some of these countries who continue to help terrorist organizations who eventually get into these terror acts.
Well, when you are looking at the Western world and the particular countries in the Middle East or West Asia,
Qatar for that matter, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about Qatar.
Do you find it strange the FIFA World Cup happened there?
Yeah, it is. There is Qatar and there is Turkey. What is Turkey? Turkey is a member of the NATO.
They haven't condemned this attack.
And the thing is, you see, when you're looking at Turkey and Qatar, these are the countries that are very much sitting there cocking a snook at whatever the US is saying and the West is saying, and they're continuing as it is involved in all sorts of, in fact, apart from Turkey, Qatar is one of the biggest terrorist funders in the world. But you see, when you're looking at this region, the new player in the region is China. You see, when we are looking at China, it is not just about shifting focus away from the Indo-Pacific towards the Middle East, but it's also about think what are the things at stake. Just take the case of India and think what are the things that are at stake. Two things immediately come to mind. I2U2, which is the Middle Eastern or the West Asian Quad, where we are talking about India, Israel, US and the UAE, and then there is this new IMEC corridor that is coming up, India, Middle East, Europe corridor, where both Saudi Arabia and Europe are important parts of that corridor. Now, both these, this corridor and this particular I2U2, both are now in jeopardy. We do not know whether in fact IMEC will even get off the drawing board. So you see everything, and who is benefiting? IMEC is was being perceived as a counter to BRI, China's BRI. So that is in jeopardy now. Now Israel and Saudi Arabia peace talks are in jeopardy, and at a time when already, interestingly, China is trying to get Iran and Saudi Arabia close. So you see, basically what they are trying to do is that China is trying to reduce US influence in that particular part of the world, reduce India's influence in the among the countries over there. So my question is that while we are blaming Qatar and Turkey and Iran, who is the actual backer of whatever has taken place? And isn't it a little fishy that these terrorist attacks by Hamas takes place just a few, maybe couple of weeks ahead of Saudi Arabia is going to announce some sort of a peace has been established with Israel? Everything, all that is in tatters. Abraham Accord is there. These countries are just hanging on to it, by especially UAE and Bahrain, by constantly saying there must be, the terrorist attack must be condemned. At the same time, there has to be peace on both sides and all, but we don't even know which way that Abraham Accord is going. So as a result of which, what we are witnessing now is
running out of time.
Very strong possibility of China being involved.
Running out of time. Sumit Peer, General Sudhakar ji, quick 10-second closing comments from you. We have run out of time.
I think everybody has a right to self-defense. If you are a born Jew, you cannot be eliminated.
You concur with Joyita. It's China that's perhaps looking at an opportunity here.
China is always looking for opportunity. We need China is our biggest threat, and China is the biggest threat to world peace. And what China has done,
Israel is a soft spot for the Americans. If China does get its hand dirty in supporting these terrorists, then obviously we are looking at much larger conflicts in the future.
We need what I'm saying. If you look at the world today, all the Christian countries and the Hindu country, India is backing Israel, and mostly, except UAE and Bahrain, all Islamic countries are backing, Palestine and Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization. I'm telling you, the fuse has been lit. The imminent clash of civilizations is a matter of time. It will happen, because if you kill Muslims, Iran will jump in, Hezbollah will jump in, Jordan will jump in, and if they jump in, and when the way America retaliates, what did America say yesterday? Our aircraft carriers are not there to handle Hamas. It was a direct message to Iran. And if you take out Iran's refineries, they are left hatter and scatter. And let me take 5 seconds more. When Iran was left with $4 billion, and they were only selling 3.5 lakh barrels a day, who gave them $60 billion and opened their all sanctions? Barack Hussein Obama. If Iran did not have money today, you would not have this problem. It's because Iran has money, because Obama allowed them to give money, because they started exporting around 4 million barrels a day from 3.5 lakh barrels. That is how Iran got $60 billion. And that is how Khomeini is meeting Ismail Haniya, and that is how the top recruiter of Lashkar
out of time. All right, General Sudhakar ji, please, quickly, 10 seconds.
I agree with all the co-panelists, previous speakers. All I would say is this particular conflict is destined to expand in an uncontrollable manner if we do not actually put things into perspective. First and foremost thing is that the expansion within Israel itself has to be contained or restricted to Gaza, if we want some kind of peace and harmony at the end of it. One. Number two, the West Bank and the Golan Heights, they have to be somehow put under some kind of international observation or surveillance, otherwise it's going to fan out like wildfire. Third point I wish to make is that at the end of the day, we are looking at a global order, something to figure out in 21st century.
All right, General Sudhakar ji, unfortunately, sir, we have run out of time. but definitely appreciate everyone who joined us and gave their perspective and insights into this very important situation that is evolving on a minute-by-minute basis.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.